Last week, Rio de Janeiro made global headlines after a police raid. It was the deadliest in Brazil's history. It left more than 100 people dead. The government called it Operation Containment. Now, a week later, Brazil's president is calling for an independent inquiry. Namaskar and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's connect the dots. Rio police launched Operation Containment in two of the city's largest informal settlements, the Complexo de Alemão and the Complexo da Penha. The operation was planned for more than 2 months. About 2,500 security personnel, both civil and military police, entered the Favela complexes near Rio's airport. Police say the raid targeted hundreds of criminal suspects. The plan was designed to drive suspects into a forested hillside where a special operations unit was waiting in ambush. From the moment the operation began, gunfire erupted. The area turned into a war zone, and what actually came out was horrifying. Mutilated bodies lying one after another. The official death toll stands at 121 people, including 4 police officers. But public defenders say the number could rise to 132 or more. Victims included a 14-year-old kid and a 19-year-old whose head was decapitated and displayed on a tree. To understand why this happened, we need to look a little deeper. The word favela refers to the informal settlements that sprawl across the city's hillsides. They are cramped neighborhoods built over decades by people pushed out of formal housing. These areas suffer from deep poverty, lack of services, and minimal state presence. Over time, this vacuum allowed criminal gangs to take control. They collect security fees, run extortion networks, traffic drugs, and enforce their own law. Reports estimate that around 60% of Rio's territory is controlled either by drug gangs or by militias, which in many cases are run by former or even current police officers. Among these criminal groups, one stands out: the Commando Vermelho, or Red Command. It was formed in the 1970s inside a prison during Brazil's military dictatorship. It began as a prisoners group combining political prisoners and common criminals, and over the decades transformed into a major criminal network with operations in drug trafficking, extortion, territorial control across several Brazilian states, and connections to international cartels. In recent years, authorities say that the Red Command has been expanding its control deeper into Rio, including the favelas targeted by this raid. The state government said this raid aimed to stop that expansion. Now, see the timing. All these happened at a time when Brazil is hosting major international events, such as the COP30 Climate Summit. A time when global attention was on the country. It also came days before 2 other major events in Rio: the C40 Global Mayors Summit and the Earthshot Prize Awards attended by Prince William. Critics say the operation was politically calculated. It was ordered by Rio's right-wing governor, Cláudio Castro. Political analysts believe Castro wanted to project an image of strength and control, both to the international audience and to Brazilian voters ahead of next elections. Security experts also see parallels with the iron fist approach of El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, who uses mass arrests and military force to fight gangs. A strategy that wins him votes. Now, days after the raid, President Lula da Silva broke his silence. He called the operation a disaster, even a massacre.
Let's see if we can conduct this investigation, because the judge's decision was an arrest warrant, not a massacre order, and there was a massacre. I think it's important to verify the circumstances under which it took place.
Lula demanded an independent federal investigation led by forensic experts from Brazil's federal police. But that move immediately sparked a political clash between the federal government and Rio's state authorities. Rio's governor, Cláudio Castro, has defended it fiercely. He insists the operation was a success and was an effort to combat narco-terrorism. Castro says all those killed except 4 fallen officers were criminals who died in battle. This has now turned into a political test for both leaders. For Lula, a left-wing president who promotes human rights abroad, it's about showing Brazil can fight crime without becoming violent like the gangs it opposes. For Castro and his conservative allies who are linked to former President Jair Bolsonaro, this is an opportunity to push their tough on crime message, portraying Lula as weak on security. What does the public opinion say? Surprisingly, it leans toward the state. A nationwide survey by Atlas Intel found that 55% of Brazilians and 62% of Rio residents supported the police raid despite the deaths. That puts Lula in a tight spot. It's like defending human rights while voters demand tougher action against crime. But there's always another side. UN officials, Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, they have condemned the scale of the killings, citing reports of torture, mutilation and executions. Families of the victims say some were shot with their hands tied or found with knife wounds and bullets to the head. A major question is, was the operation transparent and accountable? The Human Rights Watch report suggests many investigative steps were skipped, like crime scenes were not properly secured, forensics experts not deployed, bodies moved without proper procedures, and evidence possibly lost. In response to growing outrage, Supreme Court Justice Alexandra de Moraes traveled to Rio to lead a high-level meeting with Governor Castro, prosecutors, and public defenders. He is now overseeing a landmark case on police violence in favelas. The question now is, will this independent inquiry finally bring truth and accountability? Only time will tell.
If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop.
In a world already strained by geopolitical tensions, a new flashpoint is emerging, this time between two unlikely adversaries, the United States and Nigeria. President Donald Trump has ignited global controversy with a series of explosive statements targeting Africa's most populous nation. On Truth Social, Trump declared that he had instructed the US Department of Defense to prepare for possible military action in Nigeria. His words were sharp, unmistakable. Any strike, he said, would be fast, vicious, and sweet.
If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. These are cherished people. These are great people. Leave them alone. Warning. The Nigerian government better move fast before it's too late. If they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
As the president stated, Michael, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the United States will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. and may take action to wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities, especially against innocent women and children. I don't have any further announcements on that for you today, but I can assure you the President of the United States is watching this situation unfold very closely, as is our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
The trigger? What Trump describes as mass killings of Christians by radical Islamist groups in northern and central Nigeria. He framed the situation as a moral crisis, claiming that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. And with that, he escalated diplomatic pressure, labeling Nigeria as a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations, a designation that carries weight under US law. But what lies beneath this rhetoric? And how has Nigeria responded? Nigeria's officials swiftly rejected the claims. They argue that violence in the country affects all faiths, Christians, Muslims, and others, and is driven by complex regional factors, not religious persecution alone. From farmer-herder conflicts to organized crime and climate stress, the roots of Nigeria's insecurity run deep.
There are some conspiracy theories about even the purpose of this announcement by the President Trump. But we don't believe in rumor or hearsay. We believe the President of America should listen to good voices from this country, reliable and honest voices from this country, and rethink over this his so-called decision.
China, the European Union, ECOWAS, that's the Economic Community of West African States, they have all rebuked Trump's threats. Their message is clear. Religion must not be used as a pretext for military intervention. Analysts warn that any US strike would face serious legal and strategic hurdles, including congressional approval and international scrutiny. Nigeria, a nation of over 220 million people, is roughly evenly split between mostly Christian South and a Muslim majority North. It is home to myriad conflicts, many of which kill indiscriminately. Experts say the violence often lacks clear religious boundaries, making blanket accusations dangerously simplistic.
Mr. Trump has interior motive. Is not to our own advantage. There are more to it. So I think, if you ask me, I advise Mr. President, our President, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, to find a political solution to it.
In the face of rising tensions, Nigeria is choosing diplomacy over confrontation. The Nigerian government on Tuesday said the constitution did not allow religious persecution after US President Donald Trump's threatened military intervention over the killing of Christians in the country. Local governors are calling for calm and constructive dialogue, urging the US to support Nigeria's newly developed national security strategy, a plan aimed at combating banditry and terrorism across affected regions.
This, Nigeria's constitutional commitment to religious freedom and rule of law. All the answers are in there. And this is what guides us. And this is what shows that it's impossible for there to be a religious persecution that can be supported in any way, shape, or form by the government of Nigeria at any level, be it federal, be it regional, be it local. It's impossible.
Analysts have criticized Trump's stance as being based on outdated intelligence, reaffirming that Nigeria's insecurity affects all citizens, not just Christians. Claims of a Christian genocide have been pushed in recent years by separatist groups in the southeast, adding another layer of complexity to the narrative. But people are getting affected by it.
When you talk about killing in place like Plateau, in place like Benue, where you have almost 80% of their population as Christian, then if you are now saying it's not genocide, then you are not being fair.
Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern by the US State Department is not new, but it has taken on new urgency. In March 2025, the US House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa approved measures urging sanctions on Nigeria, citing its failure to protect Christian minorities. The 2024 US Country Report on Human Rights Practices for Nigeria paints a troubling picture. Ongoing attacks by armed groups, bandits, extremists, and insurgents have disproportionately affected minority communities. That's what they say. While the Nigerian government has taken steps to investigate abuses, prosecution and accountability remain rare. So, the report also highlights broader civil liberties concerns. Authorities have arrested journalists and protesters, raising alarms about freedom of expression. There are documented cases of arbitrary arrests, torture, and the use of child labor, particularly in conflict zones. In 2024, Nigeria faced rising inflation and deepening poverty. These economic pressures fueled protests and unrest, which the government met with crackdowns on dissent. Violence in the northwest and north-central regions often stems from land disputes and resource competition, but these are frequently framed through religious or ethnic lenses, complicating the narrative.
I believe that we are giant Africa. We have soldiers who they can go to neighboring country to fight for them. But what is happening in our country? So what Donald Trump is saying is true. People are dying and it's getting out of hand. So if we believe that they should not come, we should do something about it.
Nigerian officials reject claims of persecution, citing poverty, climate stress, and crime as root causes of violence affecting all communities. They urge cooperation over coercion and seek renewed US engagement to ease tensions and protect sovereignty. This standoff tests global diplomacy, raising questions about religion in foreign policy and the limits of force. Nigeria warns it must not become another Sudan. That's all we have in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We will see you next week with more raging issues. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Mark Lynn signing off. Take care and stay safe.